What's going on, champs and chambits? It's FireMonkey here, and in today's YouTube video, I wanted to actually just have a rambly discussion-based video, because we haven't really done one of those in a little bit now, and my aim is god-awful. Okay, you know what, let's ignore the aim in the background, because, you know, at least my shotgun shot did a little bit better. But when it comes to the actual topic of today's video, I wanted just to talk about, collaborations in Fortnite, and just have a little bit of a discussion of a way that Epic Games can really, innovate or improve collaborations throughout time, based on some things that, have been going on and discussed recently, and it all relates to voice-acted quest lines. As you guys know, in-game right now, we always have one voice-acted quest line a season, with this season being the Syndicate quest line right here you can see in-game, and I am being shot at, amazing, but we've always only had one per season, at least as far as I'm aware, right? It's always just been the actual seasonal, storyline quest line, and if we ever get any more voice acting, it's through, trailers, or maybe it's through, a mini video, a little goofy thing Epic Games would make on the side, but it's never been actually anything other than just quests, trailers, videos, or even for live events. And it would have been cool to see Epic Games starting to do more and more voice acting for things, because imagine if, we got a quest line in the future or whatever relating to a Star Wars collaboration or something, right? And in order to make it more introducing to the Star Wars world, of course, it would be hard to get a collaboration going where you get the actual voice actors on board or whatever, but imagine if Epic Games was able to get a voice actor on board for one of these collaborations and make it so you would get actual collaborations of voice acted by the characters themselves in the game. And I mean, imagine we get, let me actually think about this a little bit. Yeah, alright, so imagine if we had Ahsoka from Star Wars, because I'm just kind of using them as an example considering they're getting their own Disney Plus show very soon here in August. Imagine if we had a voice acted quest line where it was voice acted by Ahsoka themselves, and we got a skin of them in the game or something like that. I think it would bring a lot more of the Star Wars realm, or any collaboration in general. It doesn't have to just be Star Wars, it's what I'm using for the example of today's video though, into the game in order to make it a lot more immersive in a way, I guess you would say, right? Because of course you have the quest itself, maybe they'll have some XP, some free rewards or whatever to it, but imagine you get a little quest line or something, and then you get the whole entire transmission system, whether it's one of those things where you have to go to an area, interact with something, and then you're holding a little hollow puck that has the transmission on it, or it's something where you're in the battle bus and the actual transmission starts there, because we've seen them do both systems before. Imagine if you would get these transmissions from Star Wars characters like Ahsoka in Fortnite in order to kind of hype you up and get you started on a quest line. Now, of course, let's say they're not battle royale quests, right? Let's say Epic Games was to do a creative quest line or something with a collaboration like this. They could still do the same thing, and they would be able to make it more immersive in a way, because they could use the creative island itself to tell more and more of a story. Because as you guys know, Epic Games has access to importing, video, audio, all that type of stuff into Fortnite, so they could really do things where even if they don't want to just do audio lines on the quest line, they could do like they did with the Free Guy collaboration a long time ago, where you have video clips and everything that play throughout your experience on a custom-made creative island, similar to kind of the video clips in the Kid Leroy Wild Dreams experience or whatever, where you would go to an area, do part of a quest line, maybe that quest completes in game or something, and then a pop-up would show up, whether it's in the bottom right for the little on-screen display, or if it's in front of you as a little holographic display and everything. It would focus your camera on it, it would be Ahsoka or whatever the character might be actually telling you the next part of a storyline, and it would set you off on your next quest line that way. I think it would be a very interesting way for Epic Games to actually handle all this stuff, and I think it would be a way to innovate the whole entire quest system in general. And now, while we're talking about innovations and all this crazy stuff Epic Games could do, this is all in an ambitious territory of stuff that I think would be very cool to see in the game in the future, right? But it doesn't mean that it's going to always be possible, because especially with stuff like this, having the collaboration and likeness of characters is already one whole entire battle for Epic Games, but going forwards and, actually being able to get a voice-acted quest line from those characters is most likely going to be a whole nother battle, because, it's one thing to use the likeness of a character and get permission for that, it's another thing to get permission to use that character's likeness and their voice, and potentially even have them in some external filming booth somewhere in order to actually record all the clips they need. So it's something that if we do end up seeing in the game, it would be very, very infrequent, right? It would be something that we wouldn't see all too often, but it would still be very interesting in a way where it's hey, we get it maybe once a year, once every other year or something like that for one main quest line, assuming that, some company out there is willing to, do this type of collaboration, but it would always open up the door for future collaborations, if it goes well, to be like, hey, you know, this one went well, they had voice acted questlines or whatever, and it could be made into a leveraging power for Epic Games when it came to future collaborations. And even if it's not a collaboration thing, I think just more voice acted questlines in general would be cool, and having it be more than just 2 characters, because, you know, this whole entire questline for the Syndicate and stuff right now has only been Thunder and Eevee talking to each other, right? We haven't heard any other characters, even though there's been times where it's like, go up to Mizuki or go up to Stray or something to end the questline, but none of those characters actually have had their own voices yet. And I think if they're going to continue fleshing out the Peace Syndicate questline, and or I guess, you know, just character line or whatever, and making them the next, you know, version of the IO or the 7 or whatever it is they're trying to turn the Peace Syndicate into, it's going to be something where I think it would be cooler to have a lot more lore, just not being, you know, told through reading something, right? Or through a quest line that, you know, people might not look at because they're just like, okay, what do I got to do for XP or whatnot? And having it be more of a voice acted thing where you can put a voice to a character. And, you know, of course, that voice acting system is going to cost Epic Games more and more money as they do it, and maybe it's not profitable, right? Maybe the reason they don't do it is because the profits for the effort put in isn't worth it, but it still would be a cool idea to see in the future. So for today's comment question of the day, I gotta ask you guys, when it comes to voice acted quest lines, what would you prefer? And you know what, let me give you a little bit of like a scenario here. Because this was actually a scenario Epic Games mentioned in one of their surveys a long time ago. If Epic Games was to release more quests that would give you basically the same amount of XP as, you know, actually, let's say it like this, let me rephrase it real quickly here. Both scenarios will give you the same amount of XP towards the very end once you've completed all of them. However, there's going to be a different way for how many quests are there or whatever else for each scenario. So scenario number 1, we get a lot more voice acted quest lines, and more that aren't even related to just the narrative, right? You know, just like maybe a weekly challenge or something, where instead of, you know, just going out there and being like, okay, we have week 6 and then we have the trials or whatever, you would have it be week 6, the trials and everything, and then for the trials, Highwire would actually speak to you whenever you would start a quest, finish a quest or something like that, in order to flesh out that character more, since Highwire is kind of, you know, the brand for that whole entire trial system. And, you know, it'd be like we would have less quest overall, you would still get the same XP at the end of the day, but there would be more and more voice acting. Or would you prefer there to be more quests in the game, which means you would have a lot more tasks to do, you would get lesser XP values because they would be spread out across multiple quests, you know, to get you to the same point as the voice acted ones, but there would be less voice acting. Personally, for me, I think having less quests and more voice acting would be the play if they would do a system where it's like, oh hey, you would still get the same amount of XP no matter how many quests we had actually released, whether it's more, whether it's less, you still end up with the exact same gain. I think I would take more voice acted ones over non-voice acted ones, but I'd love to hear in the comments down below, what would you guys like to see in the game? And with that said, I'll see you champs and champettes later with another video. Liked it if you liked it, dislike it if you didn't like it, and peace out.